Let's discuss the depth of a lane. How deep should a lane be and what does it mean, depth of a lane? First of all, in every warehouse we have some aisles. Aisles is the corridor between two neighboring racks. This is the corridor where our forklift operates and where we can access the different racks or pallets. And the aisle space is typically the space between the racks that we need to access a pallet in the rack. We cannot use the aisle space for storage, and therefore the aisle space does not create revenue. We cannot rent out the aisle space. Of course, we require the aisle space to have our operations in the warehouse, but the aisle space itself does not generate revenue, and therefore every warehouse operator has some incentive to reduce this aisle space. Reducing the aisle space indirectly means increasing the storage space for the pallets. Of course, the aisle needs to be as wide or so wide that a forklift can drive through and can access the pallets. And if it's very, very narrow, the aisle and the forklift, for the forklift it's difficult to drive, and then this has negative side effects. So let's look at an example of 1 deep versus 2 deep storage. What does this deep storage mean? You see here two basic layouts of a warehouse from the bird's eye view. So in the upper picture we have 1 deep lanes. The darker black squares are the storage locations for the pallet positions, and the lighter gray areas is the aisle space where the forklift can drive. And in the bottom we have 2 deep lanes storage. You also see that the size of both areas are the same, but the number of storage slots vary. So first of all, I think what might be confusing, how to count this 1 deep and 2 deep storage. So in the upper picture you can access one of the dark black storage locations from the left side and from the right side. And on the lower picture, on the bottom picture, you can also access from the left and from the right, but the pallet that is immediately stored back to back cannot be accessed directly. And we are interested in this direct access of a pallet. And in the lower picture, once we remove the first pallet, then we can access the second pallet when we do this from the left side. And when we access it from the right side, we can also remove 2 pallets in a row. So we count the depth of a lane as the first position and the second position. So we only count this is not a 4 depth lane, this is only a 2 depth lane, because we can access from the left and we can access from the right. And in a 2 deep lane the same SKU should be stored. So in this slot the same SKU is stored like in this slot, but because we can access it from the right, we can use a different SKU in this slot and in this slot. And in the top picture we can have different SKUs in the two slots, so we have one access from the left and one from the right. Now you see the general area is the same. You can count the squares and calculate the size of this area in storage slots, and you can count how many pallet storage slots are in the lower area and in the upper area, and you also can calculate the percentage of storage positions that fit in this 2 deep layout and in the 1 deep layout. And what you will find out is that the 2 deep layout is able to host more storage positions. Without actual numbers, this is immediately clear. We have more storage positions in the 2 deep layout. However, we have less pallet positions that are directly accessible. In the upper layout, every pallet position can be directly accessed by a forklift. In the lower layout, all these positions that are here in the middle can only be accessed after the first pallet is removed, either from the left side or the first pallet from the right side has been removed. So we gain more storage positions, but we reduce the ability to directly access the pallets, and of course this increases our operations timing. Deeper lanes produce more pallet storage locations, but they are of diminishing value. So if we go for 3 deep lanes, we could even store more pallet positions, but we have even less access to these pallet positions. So there's always a trade-off between the storage space that is required and the time to access the pallets.